Hello, everyone. Welcome to Do You Really Mean That? My name is Olivia, and I am joined today by my Chris and our lovely button-pushing extraordinaire, Derek.
Hello.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Olivia.
Hello, Chris. Why don't you tell everyone what we're doing here?
Well, generally speaking, we're talking. What are we talking about? The point is current events and, why they matter and what our thoughts are. This all started with the newly created Timcast Discord server. We were the late night crew. We were just sitting there talking one night, and we found that even given our geographic and age differences, we actually had a lot in common in terms of values, not just within the conservative sphere, but across a number of topics. What we found to be interesting, was despite our age difference, and the similarity with the values that we were being taught, was that even though they were similar, they were taught to us differently, and we interpreted them slightly differently. And that's what we wanted to explore more. Several conversations later, we had this brilliant idea of starting a podcast, and we started looking. And within the new media sphere, we noticed a distinct lack of content coming out on the weekends. And that's why we're here. Why did we start it now? Olivia,
Well,
why don't you tell us why we started it now?
well, we were going to wait a few more weeks and put some weekend content out, but there has been an event that took place on May 20th, and I reported on it, and since then, it's garnered quite a bit of attention. So we're here today to tell you guys about that event, what's happened since I reported on it, and give you guys our general thoughts and opinions on the subject matter in general. So on May 20th at about 6 p.m., the Unitarian Universalist Community Church, or Universalist Unitarian Church, the UUCC is what they call it, in Portage, Michigan, held a show. They branded it as an all-ages welcome event. These events have taken place all over the country, and it's something that I find, quite frankly, abhorrent, and wanted to go for myself and record some footage and report on it to expose these events happening in our communities every single day. So I proceeded to post this footage on Twitter. And as you can assume, reactions were kind of mixed. I got a lot of support, and there was quite a bit of backlash as well and criticism. And it's been kind of crazy. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into that and talk about, I guess, the timeline and how that went. So we can start, Derek, if you want to pull up that ad that they originally posted. And they had posted this quite a bit ago. I do want to make clear right now, and we will cover this later when we talk to a reporter, that Petty Divine was not there. This ad was created before this withdrew from said event. So I do want to make sure that I am very clear in that Petty Divine did not have any participation in said event. So you can see it says, "Unleash your inner drag queen at our upcoming 101 workshop. Learn from the pros in makeup, hair, and performance. All skill levels welcome. Join us for the workshop and stay for the show. Leave feeling fabulous." Yep. So I did not attend that first event. It was a workshop, but I did note that when people came upstairs, because the workshop was held in the basement, and when they came upstairs, they all had name tag pronouns on them. This included minors, most specifically minors, I would say. It probably was about 80% minors that attended that event that I noticed coming upstairs. There were protests outside, and there was some kind of fight that ensued. And as far as I understand, people were arrested, and that has developments coming this week that I'm not going to share yet because they're kind of a, very specific thing.
There's someone else's story to tell for the time being.
Yeah, and I don't want to mess anything up quite yet. So once that's all actually said and done, then I can talk about it. But I'm not going to, mess anything up. But I know that people were interested. So let's get to my initial Twitter thread about this event. If we can get that pulled up here. So I'll just quickly read through it. And so footage was kind of difficult to get. I didn't want to stand out recording literally the whole thing. But you can see in this first clip here that a drag queen is taking money from two children who are sitting on their parents' laps. If you want to go ahead and play that.
But before you launch into the video, I'm going to ask you a question here, Olivia.
Yeah.
So whenever we get back to that. So you said the workshop took place before the event and the kids or everyone that came out of it had a name tag. Was that a compulsory thing, do you think? Or was that
I believe so. I feel like they invited them to do so. The person sitting directly behind me initially was clearly a female, but had a name tag on. This person couldn't have been like maybe 14. Had a name tag that said Ben, I believe. And I took note of a lot of the similar, like they were like circles, and I took note of like multiple throughout the room. And they all came in at the same time. So it was pretty clear. And they all came in from a different door than everybody else. So it was pretty clear. They had already been in the church for quite some time. Yeah. Okay, you have that ready? Yeah, so you can see, obviously, take money from children. That was, at least that's the stage name. We'll get into who these people are in a minute here. But Miss Moscato was the headliner, the host of this event. And that was just one clip. I was standing towards the back because I just couldn't stomach sitting in the front, quite frankly. Plus, you wouldn't get the interactions with minors if you're standing in or you're sitting in the front, because some of them were towards the back, not all of them, but some of them. Those that were clearly children were sitting towards the back because of when they arrived. So
when you recorded this, obviously you wanted to protect the children. You didn't want to show their faces or any of that.
Correct.
But in your observation, did it look like the kids wanted to be there? Was it something that it was like clearly?
It's hard to tell because I feel like these kids are so entrenched in this worldview already at this young age. I mean, you can see in that video the young girl who hands money to the drag queen. You can see the young boy. They can't be more than 6, each of them. And so I did notice that, it's not that they were uncomfortable, but I think they didn't understand, clearly didn't know what they were doing. But you could clearly note that, like, the parents were handing them that and going, okay, give it to this person, like, do this. Like, they were guiding them to do that, like, just pure grooming behavior. Basically, they were dressed in, the little girl had, like, rainbow everything. And I'm not normally one to knock rainbows, fine, whatever. But it was clearly done in a way that was meant to be towards a sexual and gender expression thing. And that's where I have a problem. And again, that's
one of the main talking points. I mean, the kids want to be there. Everyone's having fun. And on the right side of things, we say, well, clearly this is a parent projecting their personal views.
And it was very clear that that's what was happening. Yes.
So, I mean,
100%.
I wanted to make sure we covered that because to me, I mean, I've known many kids, throughout my life, and I was once a kid of myself,
I was too, no way.
It was many millennia ago, but I still was.
Back in Stone Age. Continue.
And I can't remember asking to go to a drag show, so.
Yeah, I don't remember that ever even being a thing where, like, I thought it was like, if I saw someone dressed like that, like, my dad would be like, okay, like, move to the other side of me, or he'd be like, oh, that's what adults do. Like, he wouldn't, like, he'd never be like, oh, and that's a drag queen, sweetie, where you can unleash your inner self. Like, he never said anything like that. Like, he never, and my dad, I mean, he's an amazing man, but, he never obviously didn't indoctrinate me or something like that.
That's because you're a female, and I mean, I don't think you can.
Well, he never did it to my mother either. So,
okay.
So for what it's worth, it was for both of us. He treated us the exact same in that regard. So, now the developments kind of started occurring pretty quickly once that tweet dropped. It started to kind of take off from there. And 2 of the performers had found my Twitter thread. And I want to first focus on Tyler or Savannah Hawthorne. Now, I'm going to be giving you guys a warning right here that we'll definitely probably have to like crop or blur out certain parts of this when we post the video. So this is Tyler. Tyler has a picture of himself, and we did link these identities beforehand, by the way, so this wasn't just a shot in the dark here. We had linked them, I think, maybe like the day or two before we had talked about it, when I was telling them I'm going to this event. And you can see here, I'm not reading it. I can't do it. And I also don't know if it's allowed on YouTube. So you can go ahead and read if you so choose. I'm so sorry. This entire account, if you want to go to the next photo there, you can read these tweets. Again, not reading these only because it's not friendly for YouTube, which should tell you something. It's not friendly for YouTube, and this person performed in front of children. So then you go to the next one. You can see where this individual now is linking themselves to this event saying, dang, I look good though. Now, again, we know the identities of these individuals, and we were able to quickly link this to Savannah Hawthorne. And then the next one, you can see that they want me to be sued for showing the side profile of a child's face. And they said, I hope you get sued. And I don't have the response there, but I did respond saying that I hope you never perform for children again. That was kind of shocking, I think. I think we all were pretty surprised when I told you guys, like, oh my gosh, look at this account. Like, I told you not to look at the account, but I was like, they linked themselves. This entire account is sodomy and genitalia, male genitalia, and trying to keep it safe for YouTube, trying to keep it within. But that's the nicest way I can put it. And it was disgusting. They were posting nude photos of themselves from behind. And this person performed for children. This person took money from children.
So here's a curious question, or maybe a hot take. Why do you think these people create a stage name and then want to publicly hide themselves from that?
I don't know. It's a great observation, Chris.
I
I just think it's interesting that they use that specific account when I'm pretty sure they have a direct account where they could have tweeted me. Now, yeah. It's important to note here, this person has since locked this Twitter account and changed the profile picture to Martha Stewart. Okay. But I have screenshots, and so I've shared those screenshots. Because
if everything is on the up and up, and this is perfect for all ages, why would they need to, change their, public profile like that?
If you're someone that children should be looking up to, why hide it? Why hide your real self, your authentic self? Isn't that what they say? Their authentic selves, their real, their lived experience.
I mean, that's what it's always been, as far as I've been concerned, when it comes to drag shows. I mean,
and again, I think we should make it clear right here that we don't have a problem with drag shows in and of themselves. It's the involvement of children and minors.
Exactly. And that's the key point here. You can't call this sort of thing an all ages show or behavior that's okay for all ages if your bio clearly shows something not acceptable for children.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, best way we can put that. Yeah. Okay.
Joining us now is a very special guest, Mr. Chris Bertman, a journalist at Timcast News, who wrote a story on this event. Chris also had interactions with multiple accounts following the report, including Shane Barrera, who uses the stage name Miss Moscato. Barrera demanded pronouns be changed before deleting the tweets. Let's hear something about this, Chris.
So I know Olivia was having some interactions with the other guy. I think his name was Tyler Keeper. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but similar type of situation. I shared the article, and somehow he found it. I didn't tag it at all in it. I didn't post it anywhere where he would have been able to see it without having to look for it. So he must have been, all this stuff must have been on his radar, I'm guessing. He finds the article and he replies to the tweet, oh, you got my pronouns wrong, and oh, you could have got the performers correct. And so I'm, trying to be a gentleman. I'm trying to be professional. I said, if you'd like to correct what performers that we misreported or any that we didn't report, like, tell me, and I'll be happy to issue a correction. And then he replies back with, first change the pronouns to the correct ones, and then we'll move on. And I'm like, under no circumstances am I changing that. So you're a bad faith individual. I got the information directly from the church, quote unquote church, their advertisement for the thing. So I don't trust you. So if you're telling me I'm incorrect, I don't believe you. I'm sorry.
I mean, I understand why I wouldn't change those pronouns. Why personally wouldn't you?
Why personally wouldn't I? Okay, so we have a rule in the newsroom over at Timcast. Everybody wants to respect preferred pronouns. We don't play the preferred pronouns game, but we're also not going to do the biological pronouns. We're just, if you're going to request anything, we're going to say, okay, nobody gets pronouns. We're just going to call you by your name and your profession. That's it. You're not going to get any pronouns. And I think that's like a fair medium, middle point. So, yeah, I mean, I guess what happened was I reported it. I don't think I even referred to him as him at all. I mean, unless it was edited by Chris. I haven't read through it after it got edited. But he must have been referred to as him. But we looked through his socials, and I looked through, and he doesn't list his pronouns at all. So I'm like, what else am I supposed to go with besides you're a dude?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the article right now, and I'm not seeing any pronouns being used. So,
you don't respond to ultimatums. Like, you don't, especially when it's something like reporting news and someone's a bad faith actor. You're not gonna just give in immediately to demands that they have. I got a few demands of my own from people. But did Barrera delete these tweets? Correct? Did they delete them after responding to you?
Yeah, he deleted him. I don't remember if it was right after or if it was like a couple hours after, but at some point I went to go look at his account just to see if he was saying anything else about it. And I noticed that it said tweet deleted, and I saw it was my post that he was replying to. So I have no idea why he deleted it. Maybe he realized we didn't refer to him as he, him at all in the article. Maybe he got scared. I don't know, because I know the other guy, Tyler, he had changed his profile picture to a picture of Martha Stewart. And then he locked his Twitter account, which I have to assume they're scared. They're a little aware that they fucked up. You know?
Well, and considering the fact that what was on Tyler specifically's account, I would say that Shane didn't have anything inherently like bad, I would say, on his account, but Tyler did, obviously. I mean, if anyone somehow gets a hold of that profile, we recommend bleaching your eyes after, because it's disgusting. And so I noticed that too. All the tweets to me saying like, damn, I look good, were deleted. But you actually tipped me off and said like one of them had found it when we were communicating, and that was very interesting. But why don't you tell us kind of the process you took going through this event, like after having all the footage and everything, and then how you decided to frame the article from there?
So I don't think there was any. I mean, how else are you supposed to frame the article except it's a quote unquote church, which, if you look into it, I mean, how is it not a cult? They have no doctrine.
No.
And how else are you supposed to frame it except for grown men dressed as women in very sexually provocative clothing danced at a venue that had explicitly said that kids were allowed, that had hosted a Drag 101. I mean, there is no way to negatively frame it unless you're lying.
Wait. You mean to say you don't dress provocatively as a woman and dance around in the streets? This isn't normal?
No. And what's funny is when I was 6 or 7, maybe, my dad took me with his friend to a birthday party at like it was some Middle Eastern restaurant down in Los Angeles. And it was his friend's birthday. His friend was probably turning late 30s, early 40s at the time. And there was a belly dancer. And the lady, she had boobs out. She had her ass hanging out. Everything was shaking and jiggling. My mom found out about it, and she was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Not me, my dad. Why would you take him to that shit? And my dad didn't see anything wrong with it because she's not naked. But my mom had a point where it's like kids don't need to be around this kind of stuff. Whether it's gay, straight, they don't need to be around it. And the only time anything needs to be addressed when you're a kid is by your parents.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I always point to the example of the 7th grader that I used to be a one-on-one with when I worked as a parapro, which apparently they had a field day with learning that information about me. But I used to be a special ed parapro, and they asked for the students' pronouns on the first day of school. A math teacher did. Like, that has nothing to do with anything. And this poor girl just looks over at me and is like, I don't understand that question. Like, what does preferred pronouns mean? And I just was like, here, write down this, and wrote like she, her. And I was like, and ask your parents. And then emailed the parents, because it's not my job to parent the kids or be suggestive towards them in any way. And I wasn't trying to get fired. I was trying to quit, but I was not trying to get fired. But it's definitely something that I think not enough people report on. And I know at Timcast, you guys frequently will take these stories and report on them.
Yeah.
I had a question, trying to get it back. It left. Chris, do you have any questions currently? Because I'm trying to get them back.
It amazes me. We talked about how they had to hide their profiles. I talked with Olivia about this earlier. If you're being a rational person and you do something and people report on it, what reason do you, if you think everything's fine, what reason would you have to hide your profiles?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you have to do that? Are you ashamed of them? Is somebody going to find something that maybe they shouldn't be? I mean,
well, and that's what added to the story too, is the story in and of itself was already something to report on. But then as we dug deeper and we found the social media accounts, and as these accounts like popped up and they literally like gave them to us, I think that made it so much more drastic of like a situation. I know I'm going to be talking, I think, on Uncensored Timcast IRL tomorrow. I believe I've talked to people and tried to coordinate that. Following up on this, I'm going to make sure to include that very specifically, because that was, I don't know. It's just so disgusting that this kind of person would perform for children and then so blatantly defend it. But what has some of the responses for you been since reporting on the story outside of the performers? Because I know you've gotten other people responding to you, maybe not so nicely.
Honestly, besides the performers themselves, even like the Tyler guy never addressed me at all. And I find it interesting that neither of them have blocked me either. That seems to be like the first thing that they would do, which they haven't. I haven't really had any interaction with people besides Shane. I mean, maybe one or two people have said something about the reporting, how I'm a right-wing Nazi, blah, blah, whatever. If they did, I forgot about it. I don't remember it.
You hear all the time, probably, when people find out where you work. I feel like that's not uncommon.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, literally, the sentiment among everybody. Keep in mind, I'm sure some of that's skewed because I know a lot of the people that follow me tend to agree that, yeah, you probably shouldn't shake your dick at kids. It's been positive. Everybody's just been like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, I can't believe this is going on. So,
well, I mean,
I never felt the need to lock my account. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Honestly, until 10 minutes ago, this was the standard way of thinking. You don't do that. I mean, you grew up in California. I mean, and we all know California is way ahead of the curve when it comes to being progressive on these things. I mean, did you even see this kind of behavior there growing up?
Oh, dude. So probably 20 years ago now, the better part of 20 years, I was in junior high, 7th, 8th grade, something like that. And we were talking, it's called Family Life. It's basically sex ed. And we were talking about abortion. It got brought up. And the teacher flat out just said, ask your parents. She didn't touch it. She didn't want to talk about it at all. She just Ask your parents. And 20 years ago, it's a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long ago. So considering we went from that to now where you're instructing kids on sexual preferences and gender identity and blah, blah, blah. What the fuck, dude? What happened? Something from the time I was in school, and I left high school about almost 15 years ago now, something happened, because we were not going through that when I was there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a few years ahead of you here, almost 10 now. And I think about my time growing up in school. This would have been unheard of. I mean, just to do normal, health class sex ed was here's a slip, fill it out, have your parents sign it, and bring it back. I mean, we didn't talk about the preferences. We didn't talk about. I mean, no one ever thought here's my gender identity back then.
Even for me, and I'm the youngest one. Sorry, Derek. I'm the youngest one. That I can say, like, I graduated in 2016, so I'm still I can still kind of talk about the education system. But when I was in middle and high school, you could actually opt out of taking health classes and stuff if the parents didn't want you to. And I don't know if that still exists now, if it's different by district or state or what it might be. But for me, it was you could opt out. Obviously my parents didn't have me opt out or anything, but you could. And then when those kind of taboo issues came up, it would, like, I guess more and more taboo, but they would be like, okay, like, this is something where you might want to step out of the room if it's not a subject you're comfortable with. It wasn't this is a safe space to talk about whatever. It was like, we're going to talk about strictly like by the book health stuff. And then you can talk to your parents if you have questions about these things. And that was, a little over, I guess, when I took it about 10 years ago. But it still wasn't very, like, we had like a GSA club, a Gay Straight Alliance club, but that's like the most, I guess, woke thing we had in my high school at the time. Outside of teachers clearly were more left-leaning.
We had one of those too.
Yeah, those have always existed, and that's never been a problem. And everyone keeps misconstruing everything I'm saying as like, well, you just don't like drag, you don't like gay people. I'm like, whoa, I don't have a problem with any of it. I don't want it around kids. I don't want anyone to do anything around a child. Like, why is that so hard to understand? I don't understand where we went from, like, drag is fine for 18 plus to, well, why did you record the back of a child's head at a event where someone is shaking their ass in front of children? Like, I don't know, where did we go wrong? I don't get it.
They're ignoring the whole shaking the ass part of it. Oh my God, they're laser focused on the back of the kid's head.
Well, yeah, I've referred to it as moral outrage. Like, you pick things to be mad about that you believe are moral. So selective moral outrage, I would literally say, is this exact situation. Whereas people like us who see the real problem here, they're like, well, you're the one sexualizing them. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't put them in pride gear. I didn't bring them to this event. I didn't bring them to Target and tell them to try on the bathing suit that's tuck friendly. I didn't do any of that.
I mean, I'm selectively outraged at Bert wearing a flannel.
Well, of course.
He's a journalist.
This is my lesbian phase.
Oh no, he's going woke on us slowly but surely. He's starting to turn. No.
It was all those years in California that finally caught up to him.
They're finally getting to him now. Yeah, I don't get it, because it's, I get what they're saying, but if they really care about child safety, then they're going to be like, well, expose those parents. Show us who those kids are, so if we can only identify the children, we can at least identify their parents that way to help these children, instead of it being, unfortunately, what it is, just allowing children to be exposed to this behavior, and then their reverend, using that very loosely here because don't think that's a reverend of any kind, encouraging this behavior, handing money out. As you can clearly see in the videos, you can see this individual. I still don't know but yeah, handing out money to, you know, these performers in front of kids, basically saying like, I'm someone you should look up to and see it's okay. Having these kids in these environments is very toxic. It makes me scared to have kids one day. And people keep asking, you don't have kids, why are you reporting on it? Well, I mean, I don't have to have kids to care about kids that are being abused. I don't have to, like, that argument is just like, it means nothing, because if I see something and I say something, you can't be mad. But they've decided to, well, you know, I mean, they found my school. They're still tweeting at my school, which I think is hilarious. And again, we won't have an update on that till like Monday, because the whole administrative staff is on vacation this week. So they picked a really bad week to try to like get me removed from my school.
So here's a question for both of you. It's been a minute since, you know, I've actually been to church. You know, that's my thing. And I do remember, you know, many of the things that I learned about that. And, you know, what do you say to the people who have commented on your threads and whatnot? You know, Jesus said, love the sinner, hate the sin. You know,
Yeah.
How do you think that lines up with being against this? You know,
Okay. This comes back to everybody saying that, you know, if you're against transgenderism, or just you're critical of trans people, that you want to erase them, that you want them to be genocided. And it's like, I don't hate you guys as people. I have general respect for you as humans. But like, the thing you are doing, I can't get behind that. If you knock that off, if you apologize for it, like, I would forgive you. Do you know what I mean? You are a reasonable person. I have so much respect for people who were leftists, who have done this type of shit, turn their life around, and then now we're on the other side. I have respect for that.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I would say that, you know, when we talk about hate the sin, but love the sinner, it kind of goes with the whole argument that, you know, there's certain actions that make it very hard to differentiate the sin and the sinner. I would say very few actions, though. Most things, really willing to separate them. Abusing children is not one of those things for me, but I wouldn't classify this one as specifically abuse. I would more say like this is grooming, which is can definitely evolve into abusive behaviors, especially if it's like a chronic thing. I would say the action in and of itself, like I would never point at one of these drag queens and say you're abusing a child. They are helping and grooming children, but I don't think they inherently abused a single child in that moment. But if they continue to perform, then yes, they have a record of performing the same acts over and over and causing an issue. But I would say that it's the repetitive behavior that makes it more unforgivable. And the defending of said actions. It's one thing to do something and be like, oh, that was dumb. I apologize. I don't know what I was thinking. But then to come around and be like, actually, love is love, and I am a wonderful person, and I'm, you know, this moral superior figure, and you're the ones that are doing things. Like, that's gonna make it really hard to separate the sin and the sinner when they continue to just perpetuate that narrative. So
I think it depends, because on the one hand, you've got people that are probably doing these drag performances knowing there's kids around because they are pedophiles. And you've got another handful that are doing this because they're kind of just blue no matter who, you know, just because the idea has been presented to them and their ideological enemies are against it, therefore they have to be for it, and they don't realize what they're doing.
Yeah,
I can forgive that.
Yeah, like the brainwash people.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, I can't forgive that. If you are just a useful idiot, all right, I could see myself forgiving you.
Especially if you come to terms with it and you're like, that was messed up behavior, because we've all done something where we've looked back and been like, that was not the best choice for me, and apologized or whatever it might be, you know, just been very humbled by something that we've done. And that's different than these people who knowingly do it to attract the attention of of minors.
I mean, I can see a third grouping there, Bert and Olivia, where it's not so much they want to do it for the kids. It's not because they want to, be creepy. It's, they just want to perform and they want to have fun. I mean, regardless of who's in the audience, they don't think about the audience actually having a mixed grouping.
That's just ignorance then they're just ignorant to like who they're performing for, and that's, depending on the number of times it happens, could be forgivable. Like, someone's ignorant, they literally had no clue because it wasn't advertised that way or something. There's a kid there, they do it, they're like, oh wow, I was just performing. How was I supposed to know there was a child there? Because I was too busy performing to realize. That's one thing, but to do it, there's drag where they literally just lip sync, and I still wouldn't love kids around that, but it's a little bit more forgiving than the people who drop to the floor and twerk on the ground and throw money around. I think there's definitely levels to that. Again, like, don't love them being dressed like that, and it's always sexualized, and then you can't tell me that you put on like fake boobs and fake butt and dance around half dressed in fishnets and it's not sexual. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just like not true. And that's, again, there's things that may have a sexual undertone where they didn't know there was a kid and they're like, oh wow, that was a mistake or whatever. They can come to terms with that, but this was made for kids. This was literally framed as an all ages drag show. And they knowingly took part in that. And then the point of not having the correct performers, well, there was a performer who we corrected the record on that was not in any of the advertisements. That wasn't, like, it was a last minute replacement. So they're trying to get us on these things that are very, like, how was I supposed to know? Like, I literally looked at the advertisement and, like, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to all of your names. I was a little focused on, like, trying to get the right footage. And to be fair, that last person really wasn't even that. I don't think I posted any videos of them because they didn't really do anything that was, outside of taking money. They really didn't do anything that was that bad compared to the other three performers, and accusing me of like not posting footage that was there, and all that stuff. That was just very bizarre. But I would say that they project. I think that's the biggest thing, is they're projecting onto us things that they may think or know about themselves. Oh, you're a creep. You have pictures of kids on your phone. Let me see your phone. Actually, let me just see who you are in the first place, because half these people don't even show themselves on the internet. So maybe you should just like put your face out there first. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. They don't have the courage, and for lack of a better term, they don't have the balls to do it. They don't at all. I think going to these events like I did was something that it put me out of my comfort zone for sure. But then knowing I had someone like Chris to report on this event also, you put your name on that as well. And that's something that, and then Timcast in general put their name on it. Have you noted other stories like this? Maybe not, I'm sure you've written some, but even other writers at Timcast, what similar stories have you guys seen, and what's the response been like to those?
So I'm sure that it's happened, but the first name that really comes to mind is Taylor Hansen. He doesn't work with us. But
Taylor's great.
He was like for the last year just covering him. I think all in Texas too. I don't think he was really covering outside of Texas. So it was kind of like when you offered to go, when you were talking, I think on the Uncensored show, you were going to go. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, you're filling the market in Michigan now.
Yeah,
Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Not the state. Not Minnesota.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, Michigan.
I always want to mix up the two. I mean, you're filling the market. Clearly, the things are happening in other states. We need other people to go out and expose this kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole thing is shocking.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
Like, I messaged Taylor and was like, "Can you give me some tips on like what I'm doing?" Because those are the kind of people you need. And then Aldo Budizzoni, I don't know how to say it. Sorry, Aldo. From PragerU, he works there now. He's done similar. He exposed that one really terrible one with Taylor, like in conjunction with Taylor, I'm pretty sure.
That was the one that Gays Against Groomers, Jamie Michelle, I guess that was after they reported on that, she was like, okay, we're starting something. We're going to do something. Which
is great. We need more groups like that because, they always say that, and this is where people try to get conservatives on the gotcha with like, oh, you just don't like gay people. Like what? And then they're gay. They're like gay, and they're like reporting off like you hate gay people, and they're like, wait, what? Like I don't. If they have any self-hatred, it's not for that. I'm just gonna say that. Like I don't think their insecurities come from there.
It's like people on the left calling Clarence Thomas a white supremacist.
Well, yeah, apparently Latinos are the new white supremacists or something, or Indians because of that guy that drove the U-Haul into Lafayette Park. Indians are the new white supremacists, and now white supremacy doesn't have a race, and that's just the stupidest thing. Like, listen to yourself, but like literally listen to yourself. Like, you do hear yourself when you speak. And I know that there'll be more events like this in Michigan coming up with similar performers, and so I'm going to have to find people that are as ballsy as me that will go to these events, because I don't think I'll be able to get in to some of them if it's the same performers and they recognize me. Maybe I'll just wear a wig or put stilts on. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it's something where they wouldn't recognize me right away.
A beard.
A beard, yes. Yeah, they won't even question it.
Wear a rainbow shirt. You'll fit in.
No one will know. And the whole thing where I know that they were saying I tipped them, which you're not getting my money. You're not getting my money. Like, you can have my time, but you cannot have my money. Those are two different things. But yeah, I think just kind of wrapping up, any last thoughts to either of you?
I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I'm glad you could report on it and get that story published as quick as you did. You did it pretty fast. You had the turnaround like right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for continuing to report on it, because I'm sure we're going to still have, depending on how my school responds, we may still have another piece of that, or just a whole story in general following up to that one. Which that would not go over well for the school if that was the case. But yeah, I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us and writing the article. And I'll just toss it back up to you, Chris.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mirror Chris's statement. One, thank you for doing this, Olivia. I mean, thank you for doing that specifically. Nobody's going to look at me going to these events and think, this is a good faith person wanting to see what's going on. Maybe it's since I don't have the legs for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, again, thank you to Chris Bertman and Timcast. I mean, you guys are an outlet for getting these things out for the people that don't have the reach that you do. So the ability to be available to even hear that, hey, there might be a story is immensely important in this movement. So
and where can people find you? Sorry, where can people find you online?
So find me on Twitter and Instagram at manofbert, and then find me at timcast.com on the read tab.
Yep. All right. Thank you. So again, these things all kind of happen pretty quick. And I also had interactions with Miss Moscato or Shane. As you can see here, if we can pull up the first screenshot, Shane says, Miss Moscato here. Thank you so much for attending our show. Do you mind sharing the video of the question you asked me and the very polite and professional answer that was given back? Now, again, I'm going to clarify some stuff at this point that I did not attend the entire event because, quite frankly, who could stomach that? But also, I have some circulation issues. I won't get into the entire thing, but I wasn't feeling great. And so I did. And you can clearly see it on the timestamps in my text messages and that I'm leaving and all this stuff. So I have proof of that. Apparently there was a Q&A. I did not attend that Q&A. I would have recorded that. I can 1,000% promise you guys I would have recorded that. And if you have not gone through the entire thread yet, on my Twitter, pause this video, go through that entire thread, and then come back here so you can have the full context. So I said, hi, I did not speak to you once during this event. Come back and said, yes, you did during the Ask a Queen section. Multiple people remember, I believe your question, why do you feel it's appropriate to have a drag with children involved? I would have never phrased it that way, first of all, but I would have been like, why are you doing this? Like, I would have been very, very, like, I think Chris can attest to the fact that I would not have been this polite probably in that moment, like in the heat of the moment. I don't think I would have been that polite.
Well, I mean, I've done my best to annoy you from time to time, and I don't think you've ever been
Yeah, but you're my friend.
But
You're not.
I do find it hard to believe that you would, especially ask that question worded as badly as it was. In a
Have
nice
a drag with children? No, I would have said, why are you performing and gyrating in front of children right now? That would have been my question. I would not have been so diplomatic. I can be, but I would not have been.
like, why is this abhorrent behavior happening in front of children?
Right. That's exactly what I would have said. Something like that. I would not have phrased it so.
Yeah. Your words are typically very pointed in this type of situation.
Yeah. And then also, do you feel it's appropriate to have a drag show at a church? I said I did not. I was not present for that section. If anyone has video proof of that, it would be interesting to see, considering I left. I then continued to go on because he said, interesting. You've posted videos of performances right before and after the section. He's mixing up sections. This did not happen. Also, unlike you, we didn't record anything to ensure we were protecting the children and the individuals at this event. The way that infuriates me so bad, I'm going to get through my response first, and then we can talk about that point. But I responded saying, your timeline is wrong. What was I wearing at this event? If you remember it so well. What kind of phone did I record on? And where in the room was I standing when asking that question? I never got a response to this tweet. I got a response to a different tweet basically saying, stay blessed. And like, that was it. So first of all, talking about this last response I got from Shane here, it's really, you know what, Chris, I'm going to hand it over to you for a minute.
I think what Olivia wants to say here is it's disturbing that they say they're trying to protect the children here when
It's a choice.
their exact actions go directly against that.
And I should add that this is the same person who directly in front of these children, if you look through the thread, you can see the mother that's on the ground handing money back from the money being thrown up. That was when that individual did the splits and twerked on the floor. This same person in front of a probably 5-year-old child. Same exact individual. Again. And I never had an answer as to why anyways, because again, I was not there. And they're saying, oh, no one recorded. I have videos proving people did record. So I feel like if that question was asked, people would have pulled their phones out immediately to be like, haha, Karen. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like if someone was at that event and they're like, why, people would be like, Karen, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would have been something people do.
I find it interesting that they say they're protecting the children. That's literally what you're there for. I mean, because they should not be subject to this.
No, not at all. And I don't care what you say. When you have one butt hanging out, you're not there to keep the children safe. If you have one butt cheek out and you're running around the room performing.
Well, there's a great deal of things in our society that even parents cannot give consent for their children to do. You can't smoke.
Well, it should be gender transition, but you know.
You can't smoke. You can't drink. You can't take your kids to an X-rated movie and give consent for them to be there.
Yeah, no.
The reason for this is, as a society, we have determined that it is not appropriate for kids to see that, whether your parents believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that if my parents handed me a cigarette at 5 years old, the police would just take up, well, just my parenting style. They didn't do that. So I'm just like, as an example, I don't think that would have happened. You know, exactly. Even today, it wouldn't happen. Like, that's weird. And, you know, the backlash has primarily been you have images of minors. We'll get into that a little bit later too. But I mean, you brought them to a public event. So do not tell me that you were protecting their identities. When you bring your kids out in public dressed in pro LGBTQ plus like shirts and, you know, they're holding flags. They were holding rainbow flags, I said flags weird. Rainbow flags, trans flags, all of them. Every time a drag queen would like do a kick or like a drop, they'd be like and clapping. And I'm like, do you even know what you're doing? Like, do you know what you're clapping for?
And again, I will point this out very clearly because I know you believe it too. As an adult, there is nothing wrong with being at these events. as an
Well,
adult.
go give them money. Go do what you want. Go do
Exactly.
it. I don't care.
Enjoy the show.
Don't bring kids.
Kids should not be there.
If you're under 18, I don't care if you're almost 18, you're not legally 18. There has to be a line, and we've defined that as 18. And a lot of places won't even let you in if you're under 21 because they're at bars and they're at all these other places and clubs and stuff. So right.
Strip clubs are another place you can't take your kids to. No matter how much you say they can be there, no, they can't.
Yeah, strip clubs are a no-go for minors normally. And it's just interesting because they're also half-dressed and dancing around. So, like, you know, people always say don't equate those two things, but I will because you're tipping people for being half-dressed. So,
I seem to remember at some point, either in your explanation or your videos, a time where the performer accepted a tip and forgot that they were in a church with kids. And how did they?
And almost put it like in an inappropriate spot on their body. And then the other performer that was like, because it was during an introduction performance, and they were like, no, like there's kids here. And then they also cussed, and then we're like, oh, like I shouldn't have said that in front of a kid. Like they have not been adequately, I don't want to say prepared for something like this, but they don't know how to interact with children in a healthy way where you're not doing stuff like that. I mean, interacting in this capacity anyways isn't healthy, but like if you're gonna claim it's that, even some of their behavior was questionable.
So wait, if they can recognize that, hey, we're in front of a group of kids and I can't do this particular.
Oh, they recognized it entirely. Yes, 100% yes.
So then why would they have a hard time believing that the rest of their performance, if that's what
I don't know. I have no answer. I know it's a ridiculous question, but I have no answer. And that kind of gets into this next part where Shane, Miss Moscato, has been posting on the internet with statements claiming that people have been tagging me in these posts as well with death threats. Now, I will not let anyone threaten anyone's life. That's not happening. You have to be a real egregious person. And even this, I would be like, no, do not threaten their life. You can tell them that you don't like what they're doing. You do not threaten their life. So I reached out to Shane privately because I felt like this was something that needed, I didn't want to tweet them this. And I'm sharing these because of the response that I got, and I want to make that perfectly clear. I would not normally expose DMs like this, but the response should be shared to show the character of the people in these events. So I said, and I know we have that screenshot if we can get that pulled up. I said, hi, I know we have differences, but I wanted to reach out about death threats. I have not seen anything. I think I meant any threats, but whatever. Threatening, fine. Typos happen. Not seen anything threatening directed towards you in a violent manner. Can you please let me know which users are doing this? I will never and would like to report them. If I see anyone threatening you, I will tell them to stop. And that's the last thing that I would ever want to see happen. If you do not want to speak to me, that is okay. But I wanted to reach out and let you know that I will do what I can to report these accounts. So I did that, obviously, because you should never be threatening someone's life. And, it's just not okay.
And in a good faith manner, you said, hey,
I came in with 100% good faith.
Yeah, I want to stop this behavior. I want to know who it is, and we'll go after them together.
And I even said, I know we don't get along, but
But that should be a common ground statement, should it not?
So this is the response I got. Now, I want to point out first here, I will read the entire thing, but I basically got accusations and a sob story, which ended with a don't ever contact me again. I did not contact this person again. Obviously, I'm not looking for a restraining order, but they threw a lot at me and then didn't let me respond. So again, important to note in this regard. Said, listen, I get it. You have your opinions and I have mine. You think I'm an absolute terrible person that is poisonous for children and do nothing but grope them and groom them when that is not anything near the truth. It's not okay. I'm fine when people express their opinions in a respectful and grown-up way, which is not the way you did it. I've been receiving multiple death threats from users that have been commenting on your posts and interacting with. I have death threats from people who affiliate themselves with the Proud Boys. I have death threats from members in my own community who happen to be my neighbors or customers. kind of weird, or whatever. You are going on and on about anxiety from someone discovering your real name and trying to get you removed from your program at school. I have to live next to someone who knows. Screenshots.
Yeah, you got to scroll to see the rest of that statement, and it makes
Yeah,
more
there's
sense.
a lot. How many days, weeks, months on edge? Every house or an agenda. I simply allowed to be. I stand up there and take the hate, the disgusting looks, the name calling, the death threats, so that one day when these kids grow up, they grow up without fear of who they are or who they love. My whole life growing up was a painful mystery to me. And if I had the opportunities that these kids have now to be able to express themselves, I promise you my life would be completely different. At the end of the day, I'm not looking for an apology. I'm not looking for pity. I'm not, or for you to think my way is the highway. What I do want you to think about is why you have to continue fighting a fight when there's no fight to begin with. Drag queens are not the problem in general, not the problem. You say you don't condone violence, yet by posting and saying the lies and such, you have been doing that. Have a great day. Stay blessed. Do not reach out to me again. So going from the beginning here, I'm accused of thinking this person's a terrible individual. I'm being accused of telling them they're groping children. I don't know where I ever said that. If someone could point to it. Or saying they should never be around children. I don't think that this person being around children as themselves is really the problem here. It's more the drag thing with the children. Again, like I'm sure people interact with kids every day that are drag performers, but don't interact with them in that capacity. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a problem with the performing and all that stuff in general, and exposing them to it. And then the kids in quotation marks also was interesting to
What
me.
is with that?
I don't know.
Were they saying, no, we're here for the adults, but we're going to call them kids?
Like, I don't know what that was, because that's bizarre to me. A kid is a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Whether 5 or 15, you're still a kid.
Right. And so that's mildly disturbing to me. Also giving me this thing about you're out doing this, getting this identity. Like it didn't take much searching on your drag Instagram to find your real name. It took maybe 2 posts that I clicked on to find your real name. That was not hard at all. You were not concealing that. And I'm sorry to you if, all of these things are true and your neighbors are, I think you should definitely get the authorities involved. If your neighbors are threatening your life, that's definitely a step you should be taking in this regard, if that is true. And same thing for anyone else who's threatening your life. If anyone threatens your life, you need to report it. And I never got a name of a user. I never got an example. And again, that's what I asked for. I asked for just tell me who and I'll handle it. I'm, not the nicest if you
You're also being associated with a Proud Boys here, which
and far right extremists in another instance. I was associated with the far right extremists, and I've been called a creep, a pedophile, all these things. And again, like they're saying, you say again and again about anxiety. I think I said something about like going through the anxiety is worth like the outcome of like exposing these kinds of things. I think I said that, but I didn't go on and on about my anxiety. I said it one time. I said, it can cause anxiety, but it's worth it. That was kind of the like overall thing that I said. I don't understand where that's getting like misconstrued as like a badgering people about my anxiety.
So aside from, this and your personal information being put out there, have you received any threatening messages, directly?
A lot of people that are threatening to get me arrested, threatening to get me removed from my program school. And again, I'm not going to give any attention to these accounts that are doing this, but there is an account that, despite having me blocked, has decided to continue even today to tag my university and get me removed from my master's program. And that's something that these people do because they're chronically online and they don't touch grass. They don't know how to interact with people or, talk about their differences. They are so entrenched in this worldview. It's tribal. So
Yeah. And that part's that's also weird to me. I mean, I understand logically why you would block somebody and then continue to post about them, because it creates the ability for them to say, look, I'm saying these things to you and you're not responding. It must clearly mean that I'm winning.
Yeah, and that's something that, and I really want to take this moment here to thank everybody who's been very supportive. I know you guys are watching this specifically. I would love to just give that, that credit to you guys for sticking up for me and having my back. You didn't need to do that, but I do appreciate that you did, and that you've continued to let me take a step back and fight that fight for me. I really appreciate it. I'm sure some of you are having a lot of fun with it. So I do appreciate all that support. It's a great community. I will say that, there are a lot of people that will support you, people that I've never met before, people I've never spoken to before. So
I have seen some spicy memes. So some people are definitely having fun with it.
Oh yeah, people are having fun with it. And again, I'm kind of waiting to see what my school is going to do. I'm pretty sure they're on a break this week, like a term break this week. And so I think I'm still going to have to wait, which kind of sucks because it's like supposed to start a class next week. And like, if they're going to kick me out, then kick me out. I'm not going to stop you, but like, to wait a week to figure out my fate. So that's a little annoying. I wouldn't say anxiety inducing. It's really not. It's just more annoying than anything.
At the end of the day, I mean, given your major, I don't know if that was posted there or not, but given your major, this is literally what they should expect you're doing with your life.
Yeah, I'm studying political science. I have a bachelor's degree in political science already, and I'm now working on my master's degree. And I'll read these tweets again. I'm not going to share which account this is, but I will read some of the context of these tweets, so that you can understand like what we're talking about. They said that this whole thing really started when I found out about this. And Tim Pool on his show, Timcast IRL, does a call-in section for members only. And again, we're members. That's how we all met. And I went on and talked to Donald Trump Jr., which was kind of a surreal experience to begin with. But then I mentioned that this event was happening. And Donald Trump Jr. was literally telling me to go do this. And I mean, that's a very powerful individual who can really make a change. And so I was like, guess I'm going. And I did. And so people are saying that because I called in, it was preemptive to like attack this church or something. Again, I think I was very kind to everybody at that church, and everybody was very kind to me. I will say the people there were nice, despite the fact that they're supporting what they're supporting. They were very kind to me. No one was mean to me. I wasn't mean to anybody else. I barely spoke to anybody. I said hi a couple times, but like other than that, I sat there and drank my coffee and like recorded. And I did sing. I did, clap, sing along. Because like if you don't, people are gonna be like, that's weird behavior.
Why are you here having any kind of fun? But do you think their interpretation of you're pre-planning this attack or assault on them? I mean, those are very specific words.
Yeah, was it premeditated? I mean, I had to drive to it, like I had to make some kind of plan, but I was also promoting the protest that was going on. So it wasn't just me saying, everyone come with me and infiltrate. It was, I'm going in, but you should go protest. But don't come in, that's going to be too much of a draw if there's like 10 of us. Go to the protest, I'm going in.
I think it feeds into the fact that while we know that these events are happening all over the country, so many people are actually of a mindset of, no, those aren't happening. No, those aren't happening. Which, ironically, when they see footage of it, well, even if it is happening, that's okay.
But it's not the same, yeah. So they said, hey, at my university, this homophobic, okay, also come buzzwords here, this is great. The homophobic and transphobic person who is currently in your master's program filming children without consent and politically weaponizing this event, and then put my full name. Now, it's important to note that all of my social medias, except for one, which is not related to any of the other ones, is only my first and middle name. I do not put my last name out there, not just for the safety of my family, but because I just don't do it. I don't know, Olivia Claire sounds a lot better, I guess. And so that's always been my online identity. And I mean, Chris and Derek could tell you, like, they didn't know my last name for quite some time. They know it now, but like they didn't know it for quite some time because that was not how I presented myself on these websites.
That's not something I was asking for either. I mean,
right. And like, I mean, I trust you guys, so I can tell you, but like, they went through and they found my LinkedIn, which again is not connected to any of my social medias at all. Everything is just my first and middle name except for my LinkedIn and my Facebook account. And again, both of those locked down now, and I don't even use them. So like, I very rarely touch either of those websites. So they went through, they went on the freaking Wayback Machine internet archive thing to find an old TikTok that TikTok took down. That was towards Dylan Mulvaney. Screenshot my undergrad and my graduate programs. And, people are like, oh, it's not technically doxing, but I mean, it's not readily available information. I would have never put that out there myself. That's not what I would have ever done. So this person continues to tweet about me and tweet my university despite blocking me and still viewing all of my tweets. That's so weird. Like, that's so bizarre. So that's been part of the backlash for me, at least, is that specifically. They went through for an entire 12 hours. Now, it did take time for them to find me, but they did go through. There were a few accounts discussing how they can legally take action against me and then realize that they can't. So, because it was open to the public. So that's cool.
What do you say to the people? I mean, and I already know your answer to this. What do you say to the people that say, well, you filmed not just children, but just people in general without their consent?
You're at a public event. Your consent is invalid. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean? Like, if it's a one-party consent law when you're at a public event, like a publicly open event. So I'm not going to go up and be like, hey, so I think that you're exploiting your children. Can I record you? That kind of defeats the purpose of what you're doing. I was clearly, now the thing is, I didn't get a little camera on like an earring or a necklace. I was like this the whole time. Yeah. It was pretty obvious if anyone looked, which by the way, all of their like people that work for their church were all watching me record and had no problem. I was standing towards the back or whatever, and they were all right there next to me watching me record with no issue.
Well,
I got a chair.
I got bad news for you now, Olivia.
What?
Miss Moscato can actually answer one of your questions.
Which one?
Clearly you just showed the type of phone you have on this video.
Oh shoot, you're right. Can you tell like they're like, you can tweet. Well, you know what? If it took you this long to figure it out, you had to look it up. So whatever.
Believe it or not, I can tell you the model too. So
what color did I have on that day? Yeah, you don't know, do you? These guys know. That's right. They know. You don't. So after all of this happened, we checked today, and the church updated their initial posting for the event and posted a response as it was. Now, it's important to note, if we can pull up the link to that page, Derek. Okay, so you can see here that they say UUCC is an inclusive and affirming community. Our denomination, which again, I have a problem calling this a denomination to begin with, but we'll continue, has been on the forefront of LGBTQ equality for more than 50 years. Our recent Drag Me to Church event, which that's what it was called, was held in alignment with our values and principles. Now, I do want to point out here, like I said, there was that one person on the poster originally that was not there. These are the people that were performing. Miss Moscato, Greta Vendetta, Savannah Hawthorne, and Nomi Deshire, I think is how you say it, for putting on such a joyful show and for answering everyone's questions about drag with such honesty and good humor. We are grateful to the many UUCC volunteers who helped make the event possible, and to the staff of Outfront Kalamazoo and the Unitarian Universalist Association for all their assistance. We are grateful to the members of the community who came out to enjoy the show and who gave generously to our collection for Legacy House, which provides shelter and support for LGBT youth 18 to 24 who are navigating homelessness in Kalamazoo County. So if you're straight, sorry. I didn't say that, but you know. We are especially grateful to members of Portage Public Safety Department and other members of law enforcement whose presence kept everyone safe. We will not let the politicization of diversity occurring today alter the course of our mission and vision of who we are as a community. We will continue with love and compassion to support safety and justice for the LGBTQ community. So the picture they have of the always be yourself in rainbow letters, that's referring to a tweet, the one tweet I deleted as a like good faith action, I guess. I had tweeted a photo where I blocked out these children's faces, and this is where we're getting like a ton of backlash. There was a child wearing an always be yourself and the yourself. See, they messed it up here. They clearly didn't see the photo because the yourself colors, but the always be was just in like white lettering. So they clearly didn't even see the photo. But the yourself was in rainbow letters. I have actually seen this exact shirt. I think it was last year in the Target Pride section, like the child's like t-shirt section. So I know for sure that this was not just a shirt that they found. And they were like, oh, that's a nice shirt. I am telling you, they were holding trans flags. They were doing these things. Again, I will not be posting that picture as a good faith gesture to these people. And they can't get off the fact that I had a picture that I again blocked out faces and then deleted the raw photo because I didn't want to keep that photo on my phone. That's weird. But they're calling me a creep. They're saying that I'm a pedophile, and they think they're skewing my intentions as wanting to be a creep on children, not protecting the children. So they're taking my intentions and flip-flopping them with their intentions, I guess. And that's fine. Whatever. I know it's not the truth. And so I don't have a problem with it really at this point. Like, they're going in on this, basically saying, like, I deleted the tweet again because they seem to have a problem with it. And as long as I have the footage of the drag queens, I feel like that's good enough to prove my point in the thread. So that's what they're referring to in rainbow letters. The point of this is not that the t-shirt had rainbow lettering on it. The point is that is clearly not something that the child would have probably picked out. And it's insinuating sexual and gender identity as a concept to these children. As a child, I think the only thing that I could relate this to is having a crush on a boy in like second grade. That's the most sexual I think I ever really felt at that age. It was like, oh, there were these twins that I crush on because I couldn't tell them apart, so I had a crush on both of them. But that was like the most I think that I ever really like felt. Like they say, explore your sexual preferences as a kid. The most I did was have a crush on a boy. I don't know about you, but like that was me.
Well, I mean, my first girlfriend wasn't until I was like 13 or 14. So I mean,
oh, I didn't have like a boy. I know I did have a boyfriend, but it was like what kids do. Like kids they're innocent. They don't come at it with a like.
I do take that back. I had a girlfriend in third grade for about 3 hours.
Wow, is that the longest relationship you've had? Sorry.
Close.
But, close. You're 4 hours, yeah.
I'm gonna interject here too. When you're a kid, like Olivia said, when you have a crush entails like hand holding and hugs and maybe like a kiss on the cheek sort of crap. Like it's not like the way they put it. Like kids aren't sexualized. Like the sexualization of kids is what the biggest problem is that we have.
Yeah, they don't think about it in those terms.
No, and like
entirely different.
The thing is, like, they don't realize that they're holding a transgender pride flag. I really don't see that as their understanding. Their mom or their dad hands this to them and says, "Wave this when they, when they come out."
It's a very colorful object.
Yeah, like of course kids like that. And so this was clearly, bought from a pride section of a thing, like a store or whatever. Pretty sure it was Target, which we all know loves selling that stuff to kids. And I don't think the child picked out that shirt that day. I don't think the child went in their closet like, I'm wearing this shirt today. Like, I don't even think the child would have picked that in the first place. So
I don't think so either. And I mean, it'll be interesting to know that moving forward. You plan on having kids, I imagine.
Yeah.
Most normal women do want to have at least one. So I mean, you'll find this out. I myself do not have children, so I can't.
I've been around enough kids. Like my cousins have kids, and I know people who have kids enough to know that it's a bright, shiny object and they're probably going to like it, but they're not going to know what it means. But you putting it on them is a political statement in and of itself that this child can choose to be trans, to be non-binary, to be whatever, gay or what. And I don't have a problem with any of that, but not have a kid. Like, I really don't care. I'm more of the, like, you know, do whatever you want, just don't hurt anybody. But, like, pushing it on a kid that has no understanding and cannot grasp that. I mean, they can't even tell me for dinner yesterday. I mean, they can't tell me, you know, any answer to that. They can't even tell me where they live. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a big grasp of reality.
I've had my nieces and nephews, and, you know, one wanted to be a Disney princess, one wanted to be Mario, one wanted to be, I mean, you can see where this is going, a cowboy, policeman. They wanted to be a lot of different things. I mean, I'm sure once they got into dinosaur exhibits in school, I want to be a dinosaur. That's great.
I wanted to be a veterinarian, and
I wanted to
quickly
be
decided
a
I don't like blood.
fun
But
too.
yeah, like, because I liked animals, but I didn't
ne-
think about it on a deep level.
But never was it. I wanted to be this thing, and my parents had to say, "Okay, you're now a dinosaur."
Yeah,
No,
I wanted to be a cat at one point because we had cats growing up, and I was like, I want to be a cat. Like, yeah, they're so cute. And like, but my dad wasn't like, all right, kiddo, let's go to the doctor. So
Here's your food. You'll be eating it out of the bowl on the floor from now
yeah, you
on.
eat on the floor. Yeah, go sit and eat it off. Yeah. So, you know, and I grew up with an older brother, and I always, you know, occasionally would be interested in his Hot Wheels or whatever. And my dad didn't take that as that's my son. You know, he was like, okay, she's playing with her brother. Good. The kid should be, you know, like interacting. But he didn't see me playing with Hot Wheels and was like, it's time. Like, he just didn't do that. That's not normal. Like, at
I'll
all.
interject again too. When I was a kid, I have a younger sister. She's only 2 years younger than me, and when we were
We've seen the
kids,
photos
she
there.
had her toys and I had my toys. And she had her Barbie dolls, and you know, I had my Transformers. But I would take her Barbie dolls, and I would take I would play with them all together. I'm a kid. I mean, you just don't really think about it like that. Like, oh, my mom and dad didn't see me playing with my sister's Barbie dolls and my Transformers, and think, oh, I guess our son's now wants to be a girl.
I mean, there is the one questionable photo of you, but we don't have to talk about that.
I'll interject.
I mean,
I might throw that in there. Everyone can see. No,
I
I'm
mean,
joking. I'm joking. But no,
I
like,
personally
I
am
actually
in-
know. I know. Oh, I know what the photo you're talking about now. Oh, it's and Halloween. Halloween. There was one
Halloween,
year,
you dressed up
me and
already.
my friend, we wanted to well, actually it was a group of 4 of us, so it was 2 guys and 2 girls, and the girls dressed up as football players, and me and my friend dressed up as cheerleaders, as a joke. It was something funny that we did. We didn't, you know, no one saw that and was like, oh, I guess my kid wants
That's
to
my girl.
be a girl now.
I think
'Cause-
we're talking
Right,
about
right.
photos, by the way. But no, I'm a motorcycle rider. I love riding my bike. I enjoy going out on rides with people. And you know, there's a meme of a big burly biker dude and a little girl holding a little teacup, and it
Yeah,
says,
yeah, yeah. I've seen that.
"I don't care how big and tough you are. When a little kid hands you a teacup and says, 'Let's sit down for tea,' you play along with that shit." And
Right.
it is absolutely true. I don't care. It could
Yeah,
be
my dad would,
a
you know,
girl.
come to parties and, you know,
That
whatever.
that doesn't make me, believe
Does it
that
make
I
you want to be a girl or make you a gay man? Like, it
no,
just doesn't.
no way does that do that. If the
No.
same kid handed me a plastic telephone and pretended to call me, I would put it up to my ear and have that conversation, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't mean you identify as a telephone. So, you know, yeah, yeah. So this whole thing has just proven to me that people don't want to look at reality the way that it actually is and see it for, you know, the problem that it actually is. I mean, they're accusing me of sexual children, accusing me of being a pedophile. They're accusing me of all of these things. And I'll start my response because I feel like this is important. And I do have a direct message for these people. So, to the accounts who, I'm not going to validate by naming them, who've decided to harass me, try to remove me from my master's program, and try to ruin my life, this is my response to you. Bring it on. because I will not be silenced and I will not stop reporting on the issues. I will not allow the innocence of children to be degraded by people who have their own selfish agendas. You can hurl any accusations you want at me because I don't care. I know who I am. I love and care about who I am. Your opinion is absolutely meaningless to me. You are vile human beings who will not stop at anything. You have drank the Kool-Aid of the woke leftist agenda and decided to be a keyboard activist. You have a lot of nerve talking to me when you can't even put your own face on the internet. You don't have the courage to do that, and you never will. You don't have the courage to go to events that you don't agree with and report on them. You don't have what it takes to actually be brave in this society, fight for what you believe in. But me and my friends in this movement, we're very dedicated, and we're going to continue to fight for the betterment of society. So if you have a problem with me, that's fine. I don't care. Bring it on. I have no problem with it. That's my message to you guys.
You know, Olivia, we had a couple minutes earlier where we talked about why we are here. And honestly, nothing I said then can compare to what you just said there. We're dedicated.
We're dedicated, and we won't stop.
We're dedicated to helping to ensure society doesn't continue to go off the rails. We're dedicated to making sure that we're not exploiting children in any way, shape, or form. Let kids be kids.
Let kids be kids. And
there is a time when they're going to grow up and they're going to make these decisions for themselves. And I'm happy to let them do that.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
But
let them do it when they're adults.
Their time as a child should be spent as a child. They don't need to worry about all of this.
There's already too many stories that don't even involve these issues of kids that grow up too fast. I'm one of those kids. I had to grow up fast. My mom was sick. I'm not going to go into it in this episode, but my mom was sick and I had to grow up faster than I wanted to. And I would not want any kid in any regard to have to grow up faster than they wanted to, because life threw them a circumstance that they weren't ready for. That includes parenting your child and grooming them to an agenda that they may not even agree with. They might, are you going to shame your child for being straight? Because it seems like some of these parents do. It seems like some of these parents want their children to be part of that community because that's their token right there. I always joke I'm the token female of our friend group, right? I always say that as like a joke, right? I'm the token girl. I'm joking, right? I mean, there's another female in our group to begin with, but she's not as active, and I joke about that. But I would never legitimately want that to be my identity. Treat me, well, we got a girl in the group, or, you know, like, we got a gay kid. Like, that's messed up.
Yeah, and I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, generally speaking, from what I've observed, we don't treat you like the only girl. You know, sometimes conversation will get a little unruly, but you're sitting there fanning the flames just as much as we are.
Yeah.
You know, it's not because we're trying to get a rise out of the woman. It's because, you know what, we're having a good, fun conversation, and
we're friends, and I feed into it. You guys will hear as this show goes on. I will make every degrading joke in the book about a woman being a woman, and I don't get offended by it. But at the same time, I'm a grown adult. So, I mean, I'm, you know, I can take it. I'm a big girl. I can handle it myself. But I would never say it to a child. I would never be like, ah, ha, ha, you're a little girl. You're playing with kitchen toys. Ha, ha, ha. Like, I would never do it. But if I'm talking to you guys and I'm making dinner, I'll make a joke about it. Like,
that, yes, exactly.
Like, yeah.
So, Olivia, we've been at this for a while. You've had a lot to say. And good on you for saying it. Hopefully, I mean, I had some good questions to ask.
Yeah.
With that, you know, we're going to say thank you for watching. Derek, did you have any final thoughts on this conversation?
Nope. I gave my little 2 cents here and there, but I think good show.
All right.
Yeah. And a special thank you to Chris Bertman again for reporting on the event and really working on all the details, and for appearing on today's episode.
All right. Where can we find you, Olivia?
Oh, where can you guys find me? Well, I will down below. You can find me at Olivia Claire with Olivia with 3 A's, Claire with 2 E's on Instagram and on Twitter. And then you can find the podcast at I'm trying to think about the acronym, but it's go ahead, click on that. Follow our Twitter for the latest updates and the latest episodes. We will be doing our best to live stream on weekends as soon as we can. Again, a special case considering what's going on. But we're going to do our best to gather some good news stories for you guys, or even just update on this video and what's going on since then, and get it up on social media.
Yeah, and we don't want to just limit it to news. We don't want to just limit it to current events.
Yeah, stuff.
There will be some fun content that we have come out, just us, spitballing. Like I said, we met in a Discord server and had a amazingly wild conversation involving 10 people or so late one night. And that's the kind of conversation we want to have. That's what we want to do moving forward more. So check back for later content. I do not have the socials to give out right now. This podcast starting snuck up on me. I was not planning on having that stuff ready yet.
I don't think any of us were.
So yeah, check us out. DYRMT podcast at Twitter.
Yep.
Thanks
And
for tuning in.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
And don't forget to check me out too, Real Derek Manson. All right, see you guys.